My name's Brook Thompson. We're at the bottom part of the Klamath River by the mouth on the Yurok reservation. This is probably a path I've walked almost 1,000,000 times growing up, it feels like. I walk here with my dog, Kaya, and so she'd scare off the bears for me when I was walking back and forth. This is bear scat, so it's all the berries that the bear's been eating. Yeah, this is where we'd have our campfire and our tent set up right here. When I was a kid, fishing was my entire summer. And when a fish hits, it will slap the net and you'll kind of see the net pull and then the buoy drag down. And then someone yells, "Fish on!" from the shore. And because I'm kind of small, especially at that time, I kind of had to take my entire arms and hug the salmon and flop back into the boat with the salmon. And then we either barbecue the salmon fresh on sticks over coals, which is how our ancestors did it, or we strip it up and put it in the smokehouse to smoke it for over the winter. Since then, the salmon population has really been declining. I went several years without catching a single salmon. In 2002, we had the salmon kill. You heard people talking about, oh, you need to get down to the river right now and see what's happening. The salmon are dying, there's piles of dead salmon. You could see these rotting salmon lining the shore up and down the coastline. The dams hold water for a few purposes. One's for energy production through the generators there in the hydroelectric dams. Another is holding water for irrigation for farmers in Southern Oregon. What happened in that year was they were asking for more water to be used for irrigation purposes. There is low water levels, and the low water levels create low dissolved oxygen, so what the fish use to breathe, and higher water temperatures. And so these high water temperatures created a breeding ground for what we call the ick, which is a parasite that lives in salmon, and another pathogen, which these two combined were the cause of the fish kill. Our ancestors in the tribe specifically managed the salmon with several generations in mind. These great-great-grandparents I never met, they were taking care of the salmon so I would have a good life and something to eat. And yet, that was all washed away and killed within a single day because of poor legislation when it came to irrigation during a drought year.
Bring the salmon home! Undam the Klamath! Bring the salmon home!
I got on a bus in high school, not knowing who else would be on that bus, and going all the way to Sacramento, which was a really long way for me at the time. I went to Portland multiple times to protest that the Pacific Corps head offices are based in Portland, Oregon, where these people who maybe hardly ever visit my area, making the decisions on behalf of the river. The tragedy I saw here on the Klamath River really gave me a passion to figure out what was going wrong. There's two parts of that for me, what went wrong environmentally and what went wrong politically to make this happen. Until recently, we haven't had a lot of people go to college. I didn't grow up with college being a regular thing for my cousins or my uncles and aunts. It was a new thing for me. So I went to school for engineering with a minor in political science. At Stanford, I specifically had classes on dams and the pros and cons of dams. And for me, that was really big in having me be able to have a voice with legislators. The dams on the Klamath River create hot stagnant water because it's just holding the water there and it's not flowing. And so when it is released, it releases hot water down this area with blue-green algae that grows in that hot stagnant water with all the nutrients from the farming. That creates these blue-green toxic algae blooms that have shown to be carcinogenic. Before the dam, there was the mining that happened in this area. A lot of the excess rock and material from the mountains came into the rivers and filled in the stream beds, and so made it so streams that were running all year long are now only running seasonally. Currently, I'm working as a restoration engineer 1 for the Yurok tribe, reforming the streams and working to prepare that salmon have good spawning grounds by doing restoration work, by adding logs back into the streams, by adding large rocks and turbulence so they have a place that will help their young survive. If we can't protect the salmon, that means I can't protect my family, because we're in a food desert when it comes to processed food. So we have to drive long ways to get this food from grocery stores. And also it leads to all these health issues that you see disproportionately affecting tribal nations, such as obesity rates, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Around the same time, the salmon were decreasing. And having woody debris in the streams helps with increasing dissolved oxygen, since it creates turbidity from creating roughage in the river, and also helps with cooling. I'll be one of the very few who have a PhD in my tribe. I wish it wasn't such a rarity, and that's one of the other goals I work towards, is trying to make sure there's more equity in these research spaces. It's also important for me to have that bigger understanding of what role we're playing in the world and how much Indigenous representation is there worldwide. That led to me trying to get into the United Nations COP, or Climate Change Conference. I'm not against all dams, because dams do have a use, but also with a lot of these renewable projects, such as hydropower, a lot of them are being placed in areas of Indigenous peoples without considering the costs.
Today, we are making possible the most significant dam removal and river restoration project in our nation's history. These dams are coming down, and it's about damn time.
It was really exciting to be at this global climate change conference and have this piece of work finally come through, and we definitely celebrated when that happened. When the struggle started with the dam removal and restoring our salmon populations, it seemed like an impossible task to many. Even if I do work that may seem impossible in the moment, if there's even a chance for these solutions around climate change and tribal sovereignty, Indigenous sovereignty, and water rights, then I'm gonna keep working for it.